Serrano and Jose Melendez coming to you from Dreamline Comics in Schaumburg, Illinois. Thank you for joining us here on the Comic Culture Warrior YouTube channel. We've talked about Captain America. We've talked about Batman, Streets of Gotham. And let's hit a couple books that we have talked about in the past, so we're not going to dabble too much on them. But Invincible Iron Man is by far one of the top reads that Marvel is putting out right now. Matt Fraction is making great use of the whole Dark Reign scenario. Really, he writes Tony Stark better than most. He also writes Norman Osborn better than most. So I really enjoy this, and this is continuing, of course, the World's Most Wanted story arc where Tony Stark is a fugitive from the forces of Hammer, and
which I don't think they've decided yet what that stands for.
No, I have that. Yeah,
because they were always making some kind of a joke that like, oh, we have to figure out something that stands for.
Right. So at this point now, Tony Stark is going through each of his Stark Tech cells across the globe, going in, getting rid of whatever technology or information is there, all the while also erasing parts of his own memory as he goes, and
he's needing to make his Iron Man suit less complex. Now that he's forgetting things, he needs to dumb it down.
Mm-hmm. And he's back to the old classic, the armor that most comic book readers remember him wearing, throughout the 70s and 80s. Or heck, no, I'm saying just mostly the 70s, because the 80s, Bob Layton kind of redesigned him. But this is an interesting retrospective on the whole history of Iron Man as Tony Stark has to keep going back and back and back. And he comes across all these characters, former adversaries, along the way. This meeting with Crimson Dynamo was really, really awesome. Cool. And him going into Russia now, and having to take care of his Stark Tech there. Very clever, very clever. And seeing how Tony Stark interacts with these people as well. My favorite moment in this book was when Norman Osborn is trying to, pull his shtick on a Soviet Russian general, and is trying to sweet talk him and say, "Oh, you should do this and that and this and that. You got to turn Stark over to us because he's a terrorist on the run. He can kill lots of people."
Yes, I like permission to enter Russian airspace and apprehend Potts, because Pepper Potts is now going after Tony Stark.
Right.
And if we get lucky, Stark too. He's like, "What do you say?" And the guy's like, "Yet, no, thank you. In fact, I think I go out of my way for Miss Potts. Enjoy more of Russia that way, yes." And then he's like, "You might fool some of the people in the United States into thinking your way, correct way, and or that you have earned trusted, but not me. Go to hell and don't call back." And then, of course, Norman Osborn. No one talks to Norman Osborn like that. So he gets in the little tip and throws a little tantrum. How dare you!
Yeah, because it's like Osborn, he's learning more and more. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. You want to be the top dog in charge, you got to be ready to deal with all these little things. And he's been accustomed to, again, in his own way, people just rolling over for him. And when he finally finds someone who won't, he just can't handle it. So, in either case, again, Invincible Iron Man, and this book was a little behind, though. I think we were talking about this.
Yeah, it came out kind of late. It's been well, I don't know if it came out late, but it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 months.
And I guess with LaRocca on the book, I have to say, getting this far as regularly as they've been able to has been an admirable thing, because we were talking about this, especially with Invincible Iron Man. There is such a high level of quality in the book, in both the writing and in the art. It's only a matter of time. It's humanly impossible to just keep it going at such a level as it is. It's only a matter of time before things start dropping a bit. But so they've been really hitting it really, really well, and I am intrigued now thematically. we know that this whole thing, we're kind of like heading towards Tony Stark rebooting himself, right? He's forgetting all the stuff that he's
literally
all this knowledge and experience is being deleted from his mental hard drive, and thematically this is I believe Fraction going towards Tony Stark getting another start again.
Exactly, which is what the character was just completely ruined after Civil War.
Yeah,
actually during Civil War, and yeah, that's the best thing that Fraction can do. That's the best thing any writer can do, is just, in a way, find a way to restart the character, make it fresh, make it not be that Tony Stark anymore.
Right. Because they've done it in the past. Tony Stark when he turned evil and was killed.
He got killed, and then there was a younger version.
Yeah, like from the past or something was
right.
brought. Yeah. So Tony Stark has been through these things before. These are, people who've been reading Iron Man in the past know this is, a cyclical thing. So this is nothing new, but it's a clever new way of going about it.
But I also like the fact that at the end of the book, the Crimson Dynamo gives him his
armor.
Which, in turn, is kind of a cool thing, because didn't that call come out during Armor Wars?
Yes.
That the Crimson Dynamo actually used Stark tech in order to do it. So it's kind of a cool, full circle type of thing.
Right. Very cool. Very, very cool. And again, a great book. And then you get into our other favorite book, which I don't understand how anyone cannot like this book. Fantastic Four: Dark Reign, the miniseries with Jonathan Hickman with art by Sean Chen. And we're going into the next part where Reed Richards is finally coming to conclusions from his bridge experiment, going through all these different realities in the Marvel Universe and seeing what's going on. Meanwhile, Johnny, Sue, and Ben are finally working their way back towards the main 616 reality, and Franklin.
So, the two things that these books have in common is that Norman Osborn gets totally shit on by two different characters. One a Russian general and the other one Franklin Richards, which is fucking awesome.
It is awesome.
Because he's coming here because he had an appointment with Reed Richards, and he shows up with Venom, and then Valeria and Franklin, their parents aren't there, so they have to take the meeting with Norman Osborn. And she's like, my mom and dad aren't here. He's like, you're going to meet with somebody else. And he's like, who? And then you have Franklin Richards in a Spider-Man mask pointing two little, 6-shooters at him, which are toy guns. And he's like, nice hair, loser. And then, the look on Norman Osborn is like, which, alright, so that's like a classic moment. But then, I don't know whose call this was, but then it just gets absurd when Norman Osborn is chasing them two down, and he's actually shooting guns at them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck is... Yeah. I didn't understand. Yeah, he's a fucking bastard, but he's shooting at children. And
but he's doing... I think that's exactly what they intended to do, to get Norman to lose that facade of Mr.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Because Norman...
Because if it was anyone else, I would have been like, that's not really a thing, but it's Hickman writing, so I know Hickman's got some ulterior motive for that, and is he showing finally that he is that crazy? Because he's kind of been losing his facade a little bit in the Amazing Spider-Man storyline that's going on right now.
Right.
And we see him lose his temper in Iron Man.
Right.
And it's one of these things that Norman Osborn is maybe starting to crack a little bit.
Right.
And he just can't keep it up anymore.
Unless it's Dark Avengers, and then he's got his shit together.
Whatever. But no, so it's like running around and like he's like chasing them in the hall, like shooting at the kids. Yeah. And I was like, man, what a fucking asshole.
Then again, he is like shooting over their heads. I don't think he's really trying to kill them.
Well,
but,
he came pretty close.
Yeah.
But regardless, they're kids.
Yeah, that's true. No, you're right. And of course, then you have the big setup where now Norman
they finally
Osborn,
all come back and
he has to face the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, after they see him shooting at their kids.
Yeah.
Like, you're fucking dead, Norman Osborn. Yeah, one thing I didn't like though is that he's shooting a revolver in this page, and then in the next page,
it turns into
automatic.
Chen's kind of
continuity.
Come on, Chen. Come on, Sean. You're way better than that. That's a nerd nitpick.
But no, it's a good book, and it's Fantastic Four doing sciencey stuff with the dimension hopping and stuff like that, and Reed Richards he comes to the conclusion that no matter what he did, he couldn't have changed the outcome of Civil War.
No, that he couldn't change the outcome, but he played in the last issue. It was making it seem like it was all Tony Stark's fault,
Right?
When in reality, it was Reed Richards'
right.
fault. He was the one who he could have, if he had been more proactive, or if he had been more, I mean, that was something that J. Michael Straczynski explored in his run on Fantastic Four during Civil War. That Reed Richards was just going along with the whole thing, which he felt was kind of, was out of character for him.
Well,
maybe.
He was out of character. We're not need to
we
have
don't
this discussion about how everyone was out of character in that
But
series.
It's a good thing, though, that Hickman is addressing that now. Yeah. And now they're trying to wipe the slate clean on that and starting to set things up, I think.
Well, for Hickman's own run on Fantastic Four, which I can't wait for.
I can't wait for it either. All right, so that's it on those two books. When we come back, we have some other topics to hit, including some manga. Hope you join us then.